Good evening. Can you please take your seats? Kindly take your seats, please. Good evening. My name is Jeru Bande. I'm the Regional Director of the East County Regional Office. We are located on Briggs Cheney Road here in East County. Welcome to the East County FY27 Operating Budget Conversation with our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Richard Madaleno. Please allow me to recognize some key folks who are here with us this evening, department heads or representatives of the different county agencies. We have our Fire and Rescue Chief, Corey Medley, with us. We have Rabia Sabakan, Department of Permitting Services. We have Jennifer Bryant, the Money Lady, Office of Management and Budget. Darcel Graham, who is with the Montgomery County Public Libraries. Sean Ellis, the Office of Community Partnerships, and Dr. James Bridges, the Department of Health and Human Services. Welcome to those government representatives here with us. I hope I didn't miss anyone. We have the Acting Director, Adrian Clotter, of the Department of Recreation, and thank you very much for hosting us here today. We appreciate you. We would also like to thank those departments who are here with us today to provide some very valuable community and county information resources. Please, we encourage you towards the end of the event, please go ahead and just get as much information as you would need. We appreciate folks from the Department of Housing and Community Affairs, the Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Environmental Protection, the Department of Permitting Services, as well as the Housing and Community Affairs. So we want to thank you all for making time. And our health initiatives with the Department of Human Services. We would like to thank you. The agenda for this evening is a very short agenda. We started with this welcome and the introductions. We will then proceed to provide operating budget basics, to be followed by the feedback and questions and answers for the Chief Administrative Officer, who will also close us out at the end of the event. Why are we here? We are here to provide opportunities for our county residents to make input in our operating budget development for the fiscal year FY27. This is one of 12 public forums that we provide throughout the 5 regions, and we had one actually last week that was dedicated to the African, Caribbean, and the diaspora community right here in East County. So this is the second one within this region. So we really hope that you can take advantage of this opportunity to tell county government what you wish to have the operating budget address on behalf of the residents, businesses, neighborhoods, and communities in the eastern region. To that end, we want to say, again, thank you for being here, and to reaffirm that your voice does matter. There are other opportunities that you can also participate. to make the county to hear what your needs are. You can attend the East County Citizens Advisory Boards. They meet once a month. You will be hearing from the chair very shortly. You will also have the opportunity to participate in public hearings held by the County Council as part of the budget development process. Many of you may already be serving on the committees, boards, and different commissions with the county. You have that opportunity to also make input through those settings. You are free to also write emails, make calls, text messages, write letters to the county executive, county council, as well as the Board of Education. You have ample opportunities to make your voice heard. And now, just a brief explanation. I did mention to you earlier about the regional office. As I indicated, there are 5 regional centers in Montgomery County. We were established to be the go-between the respective regional communities and county government. We identify issues, provide solutions to community problems. We advocate for the needs of our regions, but at the same time, we ensure that government is responsive to the needs of our respective communities. East County, we have a little bit under 112,000 residents within the eastern region, Montgomery County, one of the 5 regional offices. And the communities within this region include Ashton, Bordensville, Montmill, Calverton, Cloverly, Colesville, Fairland, Briggs Cheney. You have Hillandale, Spencerville, and White Oak. We are in White Oak, which is also an extension, the lower part of the Fairland census area. Now, we would like to also highlight what Your Voices has produced over the last 2 years. One of the aspects of the way we actually do this is, one, we have you come, express your views to the county government. The East County Citizens Advisory Board is also present. They go back and they meet, they compile everything that they hear from the community, then they submit a summary of those needs to the county executive, to the county council, and to the Board of Education through the county government. What we want to show you today is to tell you that your voice did matter. And one thing we wanted to show is what came out of your comments from the last public meeting and the previous year, and throughout the year as many of you continue to attend the East County Citizens Advisory Board. I will highlight just a couple of areas that you can see on here in terms of the success that you have produced by advocating for the needs of our region. Funding that is targeted to the consolidated food hubs, the free weekend medical clinics. I did put the amounts there so you can just actually have a sense of what the funding levels for some of those programs and services that came out of these similar conversations we had with this community last year. The primary health care, we continue to fund through the operating budget, the Mobile Medical Center, the Muslim Community Center. These are primary care providers, and they provide medical care to the uninsured, underinsured in our communities. We also provided services or programs to assist those who are in our communities, particularly the refugees. I do remember last year when the community came, they were sitting right to the right of this setting here to advocate for housing assistance. The county was able to provide housing assistance as well as other services for our newcomers who ended up in Montgomery County. In community and economic development, for many of you who drive through East County, you can see there's a lot of development going on. Part of what is really helping us really make a bigger push in this particular area is through some assistance the county has given to the regional office to create a position, the White Oak Development Planner, to really help work with the businesses, those developers, and our county departments in the Department of Permitting, Department of Environmental Protection, Economic Development, Community Housing, and Community Affairs. That position was actually also funded as part of the operating budget. We now have the flash expansion, which will extend to Howard County. We do also have support for our business communities, and as well as the WorkSource Montgomery, having an office or a higher center at the East County Regional Office. They are also now part of the Montgomery County, Montgomery College Education Center services. In terms of youth development, we've seen some funding that is targeted to this population. Through the operating budget, we had expanded services for linkages to learning at the Bortonsville Elementary, as well as at the Greencastle Elementary School, for about $300,000. That's new funding, and the programs, I think I've seen the director here who was very much involved in those conversations, Adrian. Those programs are going very, very well. The playground improvements at the East County and the President Community Rec Centers, funding for summer camps, the Rec Plus, and the expansion of community youth mental health services, substance use disorder initiatives. So these are examples of services, programs, and services that this community advocated for. And me presenting this is a way of saying the county executive, our chief administrative officer, they're hearing us. When we make these types of requests, it goes into a bucket of items that are discussed internally, and when they are here, you talk to them. It is registered, and we are just seeing some of many, many other funded programs and services that will be too large to list here. So at this time, please allow me to introduce and welcome the chair of the East County Citizens Advisory Board, who just got elected last couple of days ago, and I want him to come and just make a few remarks. Radwan Chaudhry.
Good evening. I can do better than that. There is more food in the bag. Good evening. All right. Thank you so much. My name is Radwan Chaudhry, and I do have the privilege of serving East County Citizen Advisory Board. As the Director Jeru says, I just got elected a few days ago. I do have a few members of our board. I'd like you guys to please stand so you can be recognized. I see my predecessor, the past chair, the young man over there, Ambassador Fish, Pete, and the newly elected vice chair. I see Mark in the back. Anybody else? Portia. Anybody else? Hi there. Yes. Anybody else I'm missing? All right. So our advisory board represent in the East County, as Jeru says, somewhere around 112,000 to 16,000 residents. A community defined by resilience, diversity, and growth. Over 1/3 of our neighbors are foreign-born, and more than 3/4 identifies as people of color. We represent over 38,000 households, many of whom are renters, representing the diversity and experience and perspective that shapes East County and the Montgomery County as a whole. We serve communities from as Jeru shows, Hillendale, White Oak, Colesville, Coverly, Bartonsville, and beyond. Our role is to listen to the community and collectively put all the information, summarize it, and send it to the county executives and to the county council members for their evaluation and make decision on it. Tonight's focus is FY27 operating budget, the county's roadmap for how we deliver essential services. That budget shapes everything from public safety and libraries to housing, recreation, schools, and Montgomery College. In many years, in many ways, it is more than numbers on the page. It is a statement, our priorities, and our values. Montgomery County has committed to ensure this process is inclusive, equitable, and responsive. That means making sure historically underrepresented voices, including those East County, are heard. Tonight's forum is one of the ways that we do that, alongside multilingual materials that you see as you walked in, neighborhood partnership, and targeted outreach. But this process is success. We need you, your inputs and your experiences. Priorities and your stories are essential. We encourage you to share feedback, not just here tonight, but also, as Jeru says, through email, reaching out to your council members, and reaching out to the county executive's office. Our advisory board meets at the Regional Service Center in the East County on first Wednesday of every month from 7 p.m. Please join us as a board member, apply for to be serve on the county board, or participate as a citizens of the county. As a board, we have identified pressing issues that deserve urgent attention: the livability and rental housing, food security, early childhood education, youth safety, after-school programs, immigrant support, language accesses, economic and workforce development, and small business growth after a decade of development constraints. We know advocacy makes a difference, and East County has been real progress from the revitalization of a Bartonsville Center, Bartonsville Crossing Center, the big, beautiful, I think there are a number of places that are opened up in there. Sorry about that. So let us keep raising our voices, stay engaged, shape our priorities, join us at our East County Citizen Advisory Board as a citizen of the community, or participate as a board member. Before I close, I want to thank all of you for coming here tonight, and thank our elected officials, and thank our executive director, and all the other regional directors. Thank you so much, and good evening.
And now it is my pleasure to invite my boss, our friend, because this gentleman is no stranger to East County, my boss, Chief Administrative Officer, Honorable Richard Madaleno.
Thank you, Jeru, very much. Thank you all for being here. Again, Rich Madaleno, I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for the county government. First, you are probably expecting this guy to show up, County Executive Mark Elrich. Unfortunately, he's unavailable tonight. So I know it's like going to the theater and getting the announcement. The understudy is playing the role tonight. So unfortunately, you've got me to go through the presentation tonight. I'll be the first to apologize to anyone and everyone watching online. I cannot just stand at a podium and give a presentation. I got to move around to keep all of you interested in what's happening, but that's going to throw the cameras off. So my apologies to my colleagues and to everyone watching if I go in and out of focus as I move around. So part of being Italian American, you got to move and throw your arms around. So As Drew was talking a little bit about my background, I am from the East County. I grew up in Silver Spring. When my family moved us to the area, we were the third family to move into the Burnt Mills townhouses when they were brand new in 1968. We moved further out to Stonegate. I went to Burnt Mills Elementary, Stonegate Elementary, White Oak, I'll show my age, junior high school, and then on to Catholic high school. So I've spent much of my life in and around the East County, following that American tradition of go westward, young man. I made it from Silver Spring to Kensington. So one day walking down Randolph Road, and I made it to the promised land. So I live in Kensington with my family, have 2 kids who are graduates of the MCPS. So I'm thrilled to be working for the county that I've spent most of my life in. And I know I'm incredibly fortunate having been to the Montgomery County Public Schools and seen what an amazing community this is, and now having a chance to help the community deliver. As the Chief Administrative Officer, I am the second ranking person in the county government. I'm the Chief Appointed Officer right behind the County Executive. So I want to thank all of my colleagues from across county government who are here. I know Giroux had initially introduced some people, but I just want to go over it again so that you know the people if you want to talk to. We have so many people from the Fire and Rescue Service here tonight, but starting with our Fire Chief, Corey Smedley, who's right there. Standing next to Chief Smedley is Mary Anderson, the Director of the Office of Public Information. And another decades-long Silver Spring resident. And then moving around the room, our Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, Dr. James Bridgers. Standing next to James, our Director of our Department of Permitting Services, Rabia Sabakan. All the way in the back, trying to be close to the exit, but trying to be back where everyone is gathering, our Director of the Office of Community Partnerships, Sean Ellis. Sean, are you another Silver Spring native? Yes, he is. So in the blue shirt, the acting director of our Department of Recreation, Adrian Clutter. Adrian was born at Holy Cross Hospital in Silver Spring. So we've got deep Silver Spring roots here. Next to Adrian in red, our Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Giroux referred to her as the money lady, right? Jennifer Bryant, a Silver Spring resident. So, and coming back over here, our Director of the Montgomery County Public Libraries, Darcel Graham. So I think I hit all of the department heads who are in the room. I've hit the department heads who are in the room. I also want to introduce Sarah Morningstar. Lauren is making sure Sarah Morningstar and Kathleen Boucher, who are right, they are part of our Office of Intergovernmental Relations. You know, I feel bad. I wasn't going to introduce Sarah because she's our Director of Federal Relations, and she's got, so exactly, someone groaned right there. The shutdown has nothing to do with Sarah, nothing to do with Sarah. She'd love to have the federal government open and working. So thank you, all the county employees who are here. Please make sure you get a chance to walk around and see some of the services that we are providing through a variety of agencies. Get a voter registration form. Sign up to be a voter, an elections judge, for example, but find out the breadth of the things that we do in Montgomery County. So tonight we're going to talk about the county budget, but actually every year there are 2 budgets. There is a operating budget and a capital budget. And the operating budget is a 1-year document, pays for the things we were just talking about. Libraries, snow plows, police officers, firefighters, all the things we do to operate county government and our public schools. So it's everyday services. The capital budget is what we spend on building things. A new school, a new road, a new library, or a new roof on a school or a library, or repaving a road, fire trucks, all those sorts of things flow through the capital budget. The interesting thing about the way Montgomery County does its capital budget is every 2 years we do a 6-year capital budget. So we actually appropriate money for a full 6 years to demonstrate what we're doing and planning for the future growth of the county. So we do so many different things, operate the largest school system in the state, the 18th largest school system in the country that is fiscally dependent upon the county government. So we have to provide the funding for the schools, whether it's paying teachers in any one year or building schools, but that's the little bit between the two budgets. Our budget timeline, we're here asking people, what do you want to have in the budget? What are your ideas? Let us tell you a little bit about the budget as the county executive assembles a whole plan. All the departments will be coming in and saying what they want to do with the budget and what they're asking for. By January 15th, the county executive has to submit to the county council the capital improvement plan, the CIP, the capital budget for the state, for the county, and then there'll be public hearings in the council. On March 15th, the county executive has to submit the operating budget, because March 15th this year is a Saturday. It'll be March 17th, the next day, the next work day after the 15th. So that's when he will submit his budget to the county council. You heard Giroux talk a little bit about, you have the opportunity, the council will have council sessions, work sessions, committee hearings. You have a chance to go and testify and attend and work with council members about what's happening with the county budget. All while that's happening, the federal government should be doing something, and the state government will be passing its budget. Remember, the General Assembly session goes 90 days from the beginning of January to the beginning of April. So lots of different opportunities to weigh in and talk about priorities, policy, budget priorities for the county and the state. Tonight, of course, we're going to be focused on budget priorities. So you might say, what's the value of coming to meetings like this? We do make an effort to listen to what you say. It helps inform the decision-making of the county executive. Just wanted to point out a little bit of some of the things we heard last year about addressing needs specifically in the East County. So you saw at the beginning, one of the things we heard was housing assistance, especially for refugees at the Enclave. We were able to put in money to help 377 adults and children with housing assistance just at the Enclave, and for 64 families. We provided an on-site food distribution hub to make sure families in need received assistance. We heard about employment, education, and training. WorkSource Montgomery brought a mobile job training center to the Enclave and other communities within the East County. We opened a higher office at the East County Regional Services Center, assisting newcomers to the county. We created the Lighthouse Grant Program to deliver comprehensive support services to individuals and families navigating the immigration process and figuring out how to fit into the county. We heard about funding for youth development programs, and you can see we put $1.3 million into a community youth mental health and substance use initiative, and we have continued to provide services to youth ages 11 to 24 in high priority areas across the county and in the East County. I also want to point out that Council Member Kristen Mink just came into the room. Council Member Mink. Councilmember Mink represents most of the East County on the county council. So welcome, Councilmember Mink. When it comes to the county executive's work, one of the things that the county executive made clear when he came into office that he wanted to make sure we had a county government that was representative of the people who live in our county and that we would actually improve the way that we hire, recruit, and hire employees. We've launched a whole new applicant tracking system, make it so much easier for people to apply to jobs and apply to many jobs in the county government. Because that system went live about a year ago, we have seen a large increase in the number of people applying for county jobs. Now, of course, that might be because it's simpler to apply for jobs and there are more people looking for jobs. So clearly, we're getting lots of additional jobs of people who are former federal employees, for example. But we heard from the county executive, from the public, it's got to be simpler to get in and to apply for jobs and improve the process. We've done that, and I wanted people to make sure you saw that. In the midterm and the short term, I know this chart just is referring for new hires for FY25, which was the fiscal year that went from July 1st of 24 to June 30th of 25. So we are now in fiscal year 26. For that year, 68% of all of our new hires represented people from a diverse set of racial and ethnic communities. So pretty much all the non-white communities in the county, and this is 59% of our community is actually of whether it's African American, Asian, Latino, mixed. So you can see we have made progress in bringing on a more diverse set of employees, and in fact, overall, our workforce is 40% white, 30% black, and the other 30% is mixed of Latinos, Asian, and people who did not respond to the question. So 10% of our hires last year were veterans or individuals with disabilities. So the county executive charged us with making sure we had a workforce that looked like the county. We've tried to deliver on that. I'll be the first to admit not every department is as diverse as the overall numbers of the county. The Department of Health and Human Services skews, for example, far more female than male, not surprising. Our police and fire service has more men than women, for example. So there are challenges in individual departments in recruiting, but we have worked hard to make sure we have a diverse workforce representing our community. What are the county executive's priorities? Affordable housing. He has made sure that just in the last 3 years, that would be 23, 24, 25, 3 fiscal years, almost $300 million invested in actually developing affordable housing in our county. That we have been able to produce and preserve during that time more than 4,000 units of affordable housing. You can see the numbers, and it's truly been the biggest years of growth and assistance in affordable housing, especially over the last several years, joining with the council in fighting for more affordable housing. And the county executive is always talking about deeply affordable housing. It's one thing to provide a moderately priced dwelling unit for our professional in Bethesda, but he is very focused on trying to make sure we are building 3 and 4 bedroom apartments that can be rented by people who are making 30% of less of area and median income. You have to be able to have affordable housing that will house families and not just individuals. So we have been trying to be thoughtful about moving forward with actually producing a range of affordable housing around the county, meeting all the different needs and income classes within the county. It is a challenge because the cost of building housing, just like the cost of building any building, is difficult. But we, with our partnership with the County Council, have been pushing forward to get as much deeply affordable housing as we can. Health and Human Services. When you look back upon this, Mark Elrich's 8 years in office, I think you will see tremendous investment in health and human services. Our expansion of our variety of clinics and our support for clinics through the Montgomery Cares and Care for Kids program, providing assistance to residents and families living with developmental disabilities, and direct assistance to the providers of services to people with developmental disabilities and adult medical daycare. Expanded health services, again, a partnership with the County Council to make sure we are expanding the number of and the type of school-based health services that we provide in partnership with MCPS. In Montgomery County, we do things differently and better than everyone around us. Health, all school health services are operated through our Department of Health and Human Services. It's unusual in Maryland to have this setting, so if you're going to a school health room, if you're dealing with the health room tech or a school nurse, they are actually an employee of the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services, not the school system. So we're able to provide a breadth of services in partnership with the school system through a variety of ways, but it's also great that we have this large number of healthcare professionals, including nurses, who actually work for our health department. So when COVID hit, they could very quickly turn their attention from the school system to other services in the county. We were one of the few jurisdictions who could make that pivot so effectively. We've expanded support for people at risk of or experiencing homelessness. We opened a new shelter in Bethesda. The county executive is not only concerned about providing shelter services, but also making sure those services are around the county so that not one part or community has all of the homeless services. When it comes to public safety, we have increased our support for emergency medical services through the fire department, through a variety of initiatives, because really the fire department, while they fight fires every day, they actually provide health care, mobile integrated emergency health care to many more people around our county. We've invested in police recruitment and retention. We have been innovative in trying to make sure we help people who want to go to the police academy by giving them the chance to earn college credit towards either an associate's degree or college degree. We've signed an agreement with the University of Maryland that hopefully will deliver more high-quality recruits for our police department. We've launched a real-time intelligence center where we are using drones as a first responder in various communities, including in White Oak, in downtown Silver Spring, where we are able to get a drone to an emergency situation first to try to inform our first responders exactly what they're getting to. It is a wonderful way to make sure that the police officer is safe, but also has real-time information as to what they're going into. We've been able to diffuse otherwise potentially difficult situations by a phone caller saying, I think I see someone in the park with a gun, to get a drone over there and to realize, nope, that is a person with a cell phone. And obviously, a police officer responding to someone with a gun compared to someone with a cell phone who's acting erratically, she's entering that engagement in a very different state of mind. Hopefully better outcomes for everybody involved. And we've enhanced community safety infrastructure by adding just in the last year, 2 more mobile crisis teams. You want to know more about them, Dr. Bridgers can tell you, but we are, with a staff of therapists so that we're responding to a mental health call. We now have 7 teams working to respond with the police or on their own to situations. So that is up from 2 when we started this administration. Transportation, we maintain 5,200 lane miles of roads in Montgomery County. Fairfax County only maintains 10. Why? Because in Maryland, most roads are a local government function, so we have to provide for the construction, the maintenance of those roads, plowing snow, removing debris, fixing potholes. That's a very large endeavor. Plus, we operate one of the largest bus systems in the country with Ride-On. And the county executive has been working with the council to expand Ride-On, not just the number of routes with the Ride-On bus, not just reducing our fares to 0 and to incentivize people using mass transit, but opening up our first bus rapid transit line which runs right here along the 29 corridor from Silver Spring to Burtonsville, and soon, due to our partnership with Howard County, all the way to Columbia. We're looking at expanding it from on Beers Mill Road, connecting the Wheaton Metro Station to the Rockville Metro Station and Montgomery College Rockville, so that you'll have an outside the Beltway connection between two ends of the red line, and on 355 running from Montgomery County, Germantown, all the way to Friendship Heights. So we're trying to expand transit as a key to fighting climate change, encouraging people to get out of their cars onto mass transit, and to help spur growth along some of our most congested and important economic corridors. And of course, we've launched Ride On Reimagine, which was the largest reassessment of routes and redesign of our system in the bus system's history. So, and we just celebrated our 50th anniversary of operating Ride On. And again, fare free for the first time. Clearly, the county executive, who's a former school teacher, a graduate of Einstein High School, he is concerned about the quality and services of the Montgomery County Public Schools. Now, while every year we're giving more money to the school system, are we actually keeping pace with inflation? And as this chart tries to show you, that in, let's see if there's I don't know if there's a pointer, so I'm not going to risk turning it off. But you can see that in the dotted lines, what total funding was adjusted for inflation. So if we're going back, we're using current year dollars and we're adjusting it backwards. So you can see in FY10, we were actually providing more money per pupil when adjusted for inflation than we are today. And certainly when the county executive came in office, which is the vertical black line, you can see that we had lost a lot of buying power, and he's been working very hard, again in partnership with this council, the prior council, to get those numbers back up. And you can see in total funding, which is the top line, in county dollars, which is the bright blue line, we have made progress. Are we back to where we were? Nope, but we have closed the gap significantly. So it's hard to imagine the school system, the great people who work in the school system, that they could deliver better results with a lot less money. So we are trying to get us back, and you can see we've made strong progress. And not just the historic funding increases for the operating budget, $1.8 billion invested in our facilities and our public schools. So now the interesting thing, as I tried to point out before, the school system runs, the Board of Education picks the superintendent runs the school system. They make decisions about the distribution of the money and the priorities for the school system, but the county has to fund it. So they are dependent upon us to raise the revenues, provide them with the funds. So the school board makes their own budget. The superintendent will propose it in December, send it over to the executive. We have to figure out how to fund it, propose it to the council. They have to figure out their own process and then determine the budget, and then the board gets to decide how the money is going to be spent. It is sometimes a consultative process, sometimes a process with conflict, but it is what is required in state law. So if you came tonight to talk about school policy issues, you're slightly talking to the wrong crowd, because you got to talk to the Board of Education. So, but if you want to talk about adequately funding broadly our school system or school construction, please let me know, let Councilmember Mink know, who actually sits on the Education and Culture Committee of the County Council. So we have to go through a similar dance with Montgomery College, the Park and Planning Commission, and WSSC Water, where they have independent control over their initiatives and their budget, but they make requests that flow through the executive and the council. Very important to note, we will be having a special budget forum to focus on education issues for anybody, but especially parents, educators, students, on Monday, November 3rd at the Carver Education Center in Rockville. So a little bit about where we are. So this is what we spend our money on. So this is our general fund budget. So this is our general tax revenues for the county and where it goes. It does not include federal dollars. It does not include state dollars. This is just where our tax revenues, our income tax and property tax, which are overwhelmingly the vast majority of our revenues. Where does it go? Not surprisingly, it goes to education, with 54% of our tax dollars going to education, whether that's MCPS or Montgomery College. Then the next largest chunk, public safety, 18%, debt service, 10%, so that what I was talking about, when we borrow the money to build things, you got to pay it back. And so what's the rest of the budget is those things you see on the right hand of the screen. That is our, we picked a few different items. That's the ride-on bus system. That's libraries, parks. That's our support for things like, you heard me mention, school health, and many, many other things outside of education and public safety. And there's actually very little in that pot when you think of it. There's roughly 13% of the budget is everything else. So many people come and they want to ask for different initiatives, and it's got to be fit into this, broadly speaking, this system. State law does require a maintenance of effort for the school system, so you've got to put in a similar amount year after year. So while you might sit there and say to, I don't care, Mark Elrich, Ike Leggett, Doug Duncan, whoever's been county executive, why aren't you doing more here and less there? There are some constraints to the decision making that an executive and council can make. So that's why we wanted to try to explain a little bit about this and where the money is going in any one year. Of course, what is the county executive thinking about as he approaches the budget? We've got to be concerned about more people, especially this year, more people turning to us in need because of the crazy things that are happening. Sarah's let Washington get out of control. The crazy things that are happening downtown, the layoffs, the cutbacks. So we've got potentially more people in need in our community. Everything costs more with inflation. Schools cost more. All of our services cost more. Diminishing budget flexibility. Inflation means, what you spent last year, the amount of money you had budgeted last year isn't buying you the same bucket of services or even the same number of people. We have an uncertain job market locally because of the disruption in the federal government. Federal and state funding might change. Now, one of the interesting things is federal and state aid to local governments is often distributed inverse to wealth. So a jurisdiction like Montgomery County that is wealthier than most gets a smaller amount of money. So from an direct operating impact on our budget, we have less exposure to changes in federal and state aid. Unfortunately for our tax base, because of these changes at the state level and the federal changes at the federal level in particular can have different impacts on our revenues if people are laid off, if they can't find jobs, if people leave. So just trying to say the trade-offs between state and federal direct assistance and then the state and federal impact on our local economy. And of course, because we have a large number of high-income individuals who live in Montgomery County, they provide a large amount of our tax base, but they can experience swings that can be hard to predict as a lot of their income comes from non-salaries and wages. And one of the things I remember one person telling me one time about budget forecasting for a government, it's like driving a car by only looking in the rear view mirror. You're making judgments ahead of you based upon what's happened behind you, and that sometimes you don't see changes coming, and that can cause problems. So big revenue swings can be sometimes hard to anticipate, good or bad. Obviously, federal government impacts, you've heard about this, you've seen it on the news. The number of jobs that could be lost, that have been lost. Montgomery County residents are the largest number of federal employees in the state of Maryland. The number of jobs in Montgomery County, regardless of where people live, the largest number in the state. So We have a fair degree of exposure to the federal government. It should not be forgotten, though, that while we have exposure to some of the civilian side, the Trump administration's priorities that were embraced by Congress in the big bill provides a lot of additional spending on defense and on security, which often also is very beneficial to the Washington area. People may remember in the period after 9/11, the doom boom that happened in the area. You know, while it's often been said the life sciences are in Maryland and the death sciences are in Virginia, that investment in either is beneficial to the overall region. One thing that county executive has wanted to make sure everyone recognizes, including the county council, is the buying power for our capital budget has dropped. When you think about it, the gray line is how much we've been spending in debt every year to build things in the county. The blue line is what that number would be if we kept to inflation. So you can see that if we had been keeping up with inflation, we should be spending roughly $550 million a year. We are currently spending $280 million a year. So it should come as no surprise that we're not able to build the same number of schools that we once built, or do the same amount of paving that we once did, or buy the same number of fire trucks that we once did. And so the county executive has proposed to the council a higher amount of borrowing. We have been so disciplined that we do have capacity now to actually do more in our capital budget. We could do a lot more in our capital budget, but he's just asking for the council to provide $340 million of annual appropriations for debt for capital improvement as opposed to $280. An example of the rising costs on the capital side, you can see how much a bus costs. Now, we've tried to buy electric buses, but just the cost of switching from a diesel from 10 years ago to an electric bus now, the price has more than doubled. The cost of a new square foot of a school has more than doubled. The cost of a fire engine has almost doubled. The cost of paving a lane mile has gone up by like 75%. So we are spending more to do the same things that you count on. So when it comes to investing in infrastructure, you know, for those of us who have maybe lived here for a long time, many decades, we've seen where infrastructure on the two sides of the Potomac were relatively similar, but over the last 25 years, Virginia has seemingly built a lot more in infrastructure than Maryland has, expanding the Silver Line, the actual subway, all the way to Dulles Airport, widening the Beltway, doing a variety of other improvements in Virginia, because they created the Virginia General Assembly, working with the Northern Virginia electeds and the business community, created a transportation trust fund for Northern Virginia. For us, we still have the same tax structure we've had from the 50s or 60s that are very much designed on the idea of suburban growth. New housing would always bring in more residents, new property taxes, new income taxes. But as we've built out the county, that sort of growth pattern has come to an end, but the infrastructure needs have not. And trying to figure out a way for us to compete with other places, whether it's around the country or the world, or just the other side of the river, we've got to figure out a different way to raise income, to raise revenue, to pay for infrastructure. The county executive, has been pushing the idea of differentiated taxes. Now, in Virginia, you can charge a different property tax rate. In the District of Columbia, you can charge a different property tax rate depending upon the use of the property. Maryland requires one single property tax no matter what the property is. So if you look at, and again, this chart can be a little difficult to read, but if you look at the most extreme circumstance in Washington, D.C., they charge 85 cents for residential property, and for properties that are valued at, commercial properties valued at more than $10 million, an office building on K Street, they charge $1.89 on those commercial properties to provide additional money for city services. In Northern Virginia, if you look at Reston, for example, Reston, for commercial property in Reston, $1.40, almost $1.49, compared to in Montgomery County, a little more than $1.02. So an office building in Reston is paying almost 50% more in taxes than an office building in Bethesda. This is allowing them to plow money in Virginia into roads, into transit, to other investments that we cannot keep up with. And he has been talking to the General Assembly, talking to the County Council about we have to figure out how to support infrastructure, because otherwise we will not be able to compete with Northern Virginia for jobs. We'll be able to have residents because there will always be people in the region who will want to live in Montgomery County, but to compete with commercial investment and jobs, we have to have the infrastructure. So he believes that Virginia has discovered a model for us to pursue in order to do this. Now, he has proposed to the General Assembly, give our Maryland counties this ability, but dedicate it only to infrastructure. He's promised, I'm a good liberal, I'm not going to put it into social services. Don't worry, I'm not going to try to feed people or educate them. I just want to be able to build roads and buses, knowing that that other work, those jobs, that investment will create the tax revenue that will allow me to educate people and feed people. So where we see this benefit of this type of structure in Northern Virginia, we shouldn't be afraid of trying it. So with that, I've gone over a lot of things very quickly. I greatly appreciate your attention, and I'm happy to answer as best as I can questions for tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Magdaleno, we have 2 mics.
We have 2 mics moving around.
If for any reason you have to sit down, one of them will come to you. If not, if you could just step to the side, and then gentleman will have you ask your question to the CAO. If you have to sit down for any reason, we'll come to you. So you could stand in line.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. I've got the first. Good evening, everybody. My name's Ryan Jones. The biggest statistic I saw up there was 3% for Montgomery College. I'm a Montgomery College student that had to actually go back, get my GED, and right now I'm trying to be a journalist major, transferring to UMD. But this East County campus, and I have my dean right here, has changed a lot of lives. There's a student out here who is a single parent. There's a student out here who is in DSS services. There's a student out here who got kicked out of, a 4-year college that needs support. Montgomery College is the future. We need more people involved in the workforce and invested in the county. Let's start with education. If 2% more actually got invested in it, Montgomery College is #1 in Maryland, but guess what? We could be #1 in the state, in the United States. So right now, we're ranked number 17. So with that more couple of percent, we could be #1 in the United States. So just to correct myself. But I wouldn't have anywhere else to go. I don't want to go to PG. I live here. I want to go somewhere where everybody believes in me. My big support, my dean right here, he said, Ryan, your story is amazing. Not because you're a solid student, because you have epilepsy. I have 5 plates in my head and nobody else would accept me. So I don't speak to you guys just from a student that has everything perfect. I speak to you as a student that said, hey, I'm not going to give up no matter how many disabilities I have. And I calmly, and I'm so proud to be able to show my mom that guess what, I'm not quitting right now. So if you guys could give Montgomery County a huge hand for Montgomery College.
You don't have any speakers?
Well, keep going down this line. Everyone lined up over there, so we'll just keep going down.
So I thought I'd be asking this of County Executive Eldridge, but the County Executive has been very clear that he supports implementation of the master plan road closure on the old West Bard Avenue, and we're deeply grateful to have a County Executive who respects the master planning process. Unfortunately, his support does not seem to be making its way down to MCDOT, They continue to tell us that the project is on hold indefinitely, and somewhere there seems to be crossed wires. MCDOT was moving forward with this closure back in April and March of this year, but without explanation, they called a halt to the project and began asking the county council to weigh in. The closure does not require any action on the part of the county council. MCDOT has said this in writing, publicly, and privately. The Transportation and Environment Committee says they do not see a role for the county council to play in the matter, and that they do not intend to schedule a hearing on it. As you know, the closure has already been approved by the county council in 2016, Planning Board and Fire and Rescue in 2023, and MCDOT and Executive Elrich this year. No further approvals are necessary. All that remains is for MCDOT to implement the master plan. Skip a bunch here to just ask, will you please instruct MCDOT to promptly move forward with implementation of the master plan in West Bard?
I'm sure, I mean, if you already heard the county executive say yes at the Bethesda Chevy Chase Forum, that we will,
I'm still getting the same answer.
Okay.
From MCDOT that they haven't heard that and it's on hold.
Okay. Well, we will look into, the note taker is right there. We will get you an answer.
Good evening. My name is Nathan Feinberg. I'm a math teacher at John F. Kennedy High School, living in the Fairland neighborhood of Silver Spring with my wife and 3 children. They are the 4th generation of our family to live in Montgomery County, but many more have been forced out and displaced from their own communities by the ever-increasing cost of housing that has for decades grown far faster than our wages. Our own family was nearly forced out as well, when this very administration threw us out on the street with 24 hours notice to vacate our basement apartment because our landlord was breaking the law. Indeed, it was only through a small inheritance when my mother passed of cancer and through the grace of God that we were able to buy our home in Fairland. Even then, we continued paying over half of our take-home pay just to make the mortgage. Costs which deprive our children of opportunity and greatly diminish the resources available to our local economy. My friends who are not so fortunate now spend hours every day commuting into the county to pick up your trash, clean your buildings, and educate your children, still supporting the community from which they have been outcast. That is why we must now commit to profound investment in deeply affordable housing for the working families that make life in Montgomery County possible. No more families should be displaced. No more children should be driven from the communities they call home. We are calling on this administration to leave a lasting legacy of fair housing by investing, yes, hundreds of millions of dollars into a sustainable, long-term program of social housing. We cannot rely solely on market forces we know will never deliver what working families need. Will you commit today to cementing your legacy as the executive who ushered in an era of affordability and ended our dangerous, destabilizing slide into a permanent rentier class by investing $400 million in this budget for a deeply affordable social housing program that will grow and sustain itself for generations to come?
I certainly appreciate your comments. I wish I could say, yes, I'll be the one, but what I was trying to say before about our capacity for debt, we have the ability to put in a number like that if we had also the political will to borrow that level of money, which I think you could argue is of value to bringing more people in, building the tax base, strengthening our local economy. It's a question of, can we get everyone on the same page to do it? The county executive every day is talking about housing. Every day is trying to talk about affordable housing. And I'm sure we will be talking about that throughout this budget cycle. Unfortunately, I can ask him to do it. I can't be the one that says, yes, we'll do it. Yes. Yes, but very much appreciate your time. And if you have something you want to leave to Giroux, if you so that we have the details. Thank you, and thank you very much for being a school teacher and continuing to live in Montgomery County.
Good evening. My name is Gerard Etienne. I am a longtime Montgomery County resident. I live in East County with my wife. We've been here for over 20 years. I am also the executive director at McHale, the Montgomery Coalition for Adult English Literacy. And thanks to the funding that we received from the county, we are able to support ESOL programs, English for speakers of other languages, throughout the county. This funding is absolutely vital to support the immigrants who live in this county. And I'm also speaking from experience. I'm an English learner myself. I came to this country when I was 13 and I didn't speak English. As I said, it's vital to continue this investment in our community. So many of our residents right now are experiencing fear because of the political environment, because of ICE raids, and we have to do everything that we can to continuing to support this investment. So I'm here really to ask for continued support, ask for continued investment. I feel very fortunate that we live in a county that has been really supportive, and I just ask for that to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And of course, the library director is right there. And the funding, for anyone else in the room who doesn't know, the funding for your organization sits through the library, which is why I'm pointing out. And of course, one of the many parts of the county government that is actively engaged in helping people learn English, improve English. So thank you for your comments.
So my name is Vicki Thomas, and I'm vice chair of the county's Animal Services Advisory Committee. And I also have over 4,000 volunteer hours at the county shelter. What we are requesting reflects everybody in the region.
Can you step forward so
Sorry.
that the camera can get, we're trying to get Cicero to not block the camera. So that's why everyone is telling. So you've got to move forward. Cicero needs to stay where he is. You need to move forward. Thank you. People don't want to look at the microphone stand. They want to look at you. So that's it.
So what we are requesting, I think, affects everybody in the county because we all have beloved pets at home that give us unconditional love and, a lot of emotional support. And with federal workers being fired and deportations and rising prices, there's been a 40% increase in surrendered animals coming into the shelter, and many more are just abandoned. So we have three main asks. One is to, again, increase the number of animal care attendants by 3, as you had put in the FY26 budget, to increase like $20,000 the allocation for pet food distribution so people can keep their pets at home, and also to increase the amount of community spay-neuter to 250,000 so that unwanted pets won't be born in the first place.
Thank you very much for your very specific suggestions. I do know that I'm pretty sure it's the Public Safety Committee is having a hearing coming up
So
on
I
the
always
spay and neuter
testify,
program.
and actually Councilmember Mink adopted 2 of my kittens, and I am fostering 11 more cats if anybody needs a cat. So.
Okay. And I should say Councilmember Mink is also on the Public Safety. Everyone has 2 committee assignments. She happens to be on both Education and Culture and Public Safety.
Hi there. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pascal Lemaire. I am the Vice President of Progressive Maryland's Enclave Tenant Association. I'm also a proud member of Housing Justice Montgomery. You see these purple T-shirts out here. That would be us. Many of you know that the Enclave is the most notorious property in Montgomery County. Sadly, I live there. And we have 1,119 units. And so we have a huge property, a lot of people. At the Enclave, we have been really bogged down all of last year. We worked tirelessly helping families facing eviction. That's been a huge issue. Councilmember Mink has been tried and true superwoman, and her staff at our property 24/7 on speed dial. The fire department
I
also
want you to
knows.
know she has all of the rest of us on speed dial when it comes to the Enclave. She doesn't keep it to her. She does not keep it to herself. You should know she is fighting.
That's why she's our superhero. But, at the Enclave, we have our mighty tenant association of 4 get on the ground. We help tenants when they're evicted. I have seen firsthand what it's like to have families, children crying, will they go to school the next day? And it's heartbreaking. All of their belongings in giant contractor bags on the sidewalk. And I have to go down. We divide and conquer, but I usually am the one going down on the sidewalk, protecting people's things so that it's not stolen the second it's put on the ground. So it is so crucial that we need, eviction support. And very rarely, when I'm on the ground with these people, they're usually out there for hours until their stuff comes down, till the cobwebs clear and they get the reality check that really they're out. And they never have moving support. So that is something that we so crucially need. Many residents who have lost their jobs have fallen ill, sustained injuries, and that limits the hours they can work, so they have been facing evictions. The other big issue, as you mentioned earlier, is that we have lots of immigrant families that were just thrown to the wolves by the resettlement agencies. They were promised to come to the United States. They were told they would be taught how to speak English, get jobs. None of that happened. They dropped the ball. They didn't speak English. They couldn't get jobs, and they couldn't pay their rent. So that is the big figure you mentioned earlier, and we are grateful that Mr. Elrich rallied and everyone gave more money. But we still need more now. The federal government is being furloughed right now. My sister personally works for Voice of America. She's been on administrative leave since April. She's one of the lucky ones that still has sort of a job, and she's been getting paid. But now we have the furlough. There'll be another uptick of, evictions. So these are the things that we're afraid of. So we asked County Executive Elrich, I have two questions for him. One, will he continue funding and allocate this year towards Montgomery County rental assistance? Last year we requested $50 million. We're going to need more this year. Furloughs are here, and it looks like it's going to be a long wait. The second thing is I would love for him to allow the Enclave Tenant Association and Housing Justice Montgomery to sit with him and discuss eviction prevention programs for our community, because we're in dire need of that. And Kristen Mink, you are our hero. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yes. You need.
Well, here. Thank you, and I know the county executive, Councilmember Mink, are very concerned about the enclave 24/7, and I know both would love to find short-term and long-term solutions to making sure that people around our county have quality, affordable housing. And so, we are working each and every day to try to figure out how to make those things happen within the constraints of our budget. But thank you for your work, your advocacy, and for giving Councilmember Mink something to do. She'd rather not. I'm sure on this one, she would rather have the night off than deal with another enclave situation.
Good evening. Thank you so much for holding this forum. My name is Leap Linder. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the executive director of Trans Maryland. I am also the chair of the Maryland Commission on LGBTQI+ affairs, although I'm here today in my capacity with Trans Maryland. We are so grateful for the funding from the county for the new Montgomery County Pride Center. I'm also here with some of our Trans Maryland volunteers, Gary and Max. And we really, want to ask specifically tonight the need for stability. With all of the ongoing threats and cuts at the state and the federal level, it is really vital that the county continue funding and make sure that it is reliable and sustainable. The LGBTQI+ community is sometimes not well served by other institutions, and so we want to make sure that we are supporting all of those vulnerable spaces, such as housing, such as food insecurity, et cetera, healthcare access, are specific for the LGBTQI plus community. So in that context, we would love to figure out how we can work together with the CE's office, the county council, and how community members can help ensure that these essential services remain fully funded and part of the county's core budget. And so when we're considering those asks, we are seeking an additional $250,000 in FY27 budget to fund 2 licensed care navigator positions who would provide direct affirming service navigation for LGBTQI plus residents. We're also requesting an additional $50,000 in enhanced service and outreach funding to reach our most vulnerable community members. We have, again, I am a white transgender person, but we come in all racial and ethnic identities, all lived experiences, all ages. Our young populations, our trans youth and our elders and our LGBTQI plus folks of all ages are especially vulnerable at this time. So for folks who are facing housing instability, isolation, and barriers to care, as care is continually targeted from the highest levels in the federal government, and transgender people, shout out to any other folks who are trans in the room. It's a pretty rough time for us. It's pretty weird to hear your president target your identity. We're like 1% of the population, and yet we're on his lips every day, it feels like. So how can we work together to ensure that these additional investments are included in the FY27 budget to expand and strengthen the life-saving services that the Mocha Pride Center is offering? Thank you.
Thank you. And I know, that the county executive has been a long-time ally. I mean, not just as county executive in his time on the county council, but before that, in the city of Tacoma Park on the city council, when Tacoma Park was taking actions that few communities in the country were taking actions to support the LGBTQ community. So he has been part of this effort pretty much his entire adult life, and I'm sure he will continue to work on that. I know it's an issue of critical importance to Councilmember Mink. On my way here, Council President Stewart called about that as well. So I know there are many people in the community who are very concerned, especially at a time when, while you might say the 1% of the population, it's like 50% of what the president talks about. And so, in many ways, we are a sanctuary community for so many different communities, and I think we're also a sanctuary community when it comes to respect for families and the LGBTQ community, which is why I've always been thrilled to live in Montgomery County and to raise my family in Montgomery County.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before you start, I know I've been speaking for Councilmember Mink over and over and over. We will certainly give Councilmember Mink an opportunity at the very end to have a few seconds to talk about what's going on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sergio Yengo, and I serve as the member at large for Progressive Maryland Enclave Tenant Association. I am also a proud member of Housing Justice Montgomery. Every day, residents at the Enclave and Spring Park in Silver Spring are battling roaches, mice, bedbugs, mold, and even rats. Me personally, in my apartment, I already saw 6 rats, not mouse, rats. Children and seniors are forced to live in this condition, while management looks the other way. And tenants who speak up risk retaliation or termination of their lease. Wood and HOC tenants are being dragged into court over erroneous balances and threatening with eviction. Inspector come, issue violation, and yet management is given 10, sometimes 30 days to fix the problem, while families are forced to remain in unsafe, unhealthy home. This must stop. County Executive Mark Enrich said himself that the Enclave is one of the most notorious property in the county, yet year after year, nothing changed. So my question today is, when will he hold negligent lenders, like those at the Enclave and Spring Park? When he will hold them truly accountable, because it's too much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm trying to gather myself.
Sadly, that wouldn't end the situation. I mean,
He-
it would.
Is there somebody, there's somebody here who can help with that, correct? At this,
I'm trying to.
who is it?
With the Department of Housing and Community Affairs, I don't know if I see with the DHCA staff in the room. I mean, I know.
Yeah, because the marketing, we need the landlord tenant as well as the code enforcement. So I am making note of this, and first thing tomorrow morning, I'll be talking to the director, so.
But Giroux, there's a rat infestation majorly at the Enclave right now.
Okay,
It is,
It's noted.
okay. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, that was not my question, but it became my question
yes.
because somebody has to respond, right? Thank you. My name is Valerie Davis. I'm the convener of the Black Coalition for Excellence in Education. And we have one mission, which is to make sure that Black children achieve all that they can in the public education system and beyond. And I'm a 50-plus year resident of Montgomery County. I live in East County now. And my question is about education. I have one request up front and then one request when I give a couple of facts. As we go forward in these budget forums, will you please ask the Board of Education and the superintendent to show up? Because when 54% of the budget is for education, they need to be here. We can't adequately discuss the budget when the people who are responsible for managing over half of it don't show up. And it's very telling that they didn't invite themselves. So I'm asking you, and I'm asking you, Kristen, to have them bring their buns into the building.
And we will, but also to let you know, we do keep copious notes for all of the meetings. A full transcript is provided. We share that information with the school system so that they get a sense of what was happening. The superintendent and the school board will also have public forums much later in the year. Usually they're in the January, February timeframe. So, but I just wanted to let you know that they do. There are other opportunities for that, but that's a great point, and we will definitely both share the information and the feedback with MCPS. And I don't know if there's someone from MCPS here. I don't want to put someone on the spot, but I don't see someone from the school board, but I didn't want to just make the assumption they're not here.
It just needs to be part of the
Yes,
plan.
ma'am.
If we're going to have integrated discussions about the budget, we need those people in the room. And it's important because most households in Montgomery County don't have children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to make the connections to the things that we all care about and the classroom, because that's where everything begins and ends. So here's pop quiz. Anybody know how much a Board of Education member gets paid? Say it. $25,000. Did you know that? A year. And so my request is, knowing that the state law would need to be changed so that a Board of Education member who works more than full-time, sun up, sun down, going to your schools, going to weekend events, could get a full-time salary, we have to change law. So I want to talk to you too. We need the county executive's weight added to this. We need every council member's weight added to this, and all of yours added to this. Because there's no way that any of us right now could give up our full-time salaries and be on the Board of Education for $25,000. So I'm asking, the council will ultimately have to fund it, so it's relevant to this discussion, but first we have to change the law. And so we need a commitment from the county executive, from the county council, from the Board of Education to go get the money to fund the people who spend half of our money and in East County who have failed to educate our children. Almost 40% of black children are not reading at grade level, and we're in the blackest part of the county, and most of them speak English as a primary language. So it's not a money issue, right? It's a will issue and it's a mindset issue. So I'm asking for the lobbying. I'm asking for the people who are responsible to come into the room. And unlike when the superintendent came to the advisory board meeting finally last spring, and 3 times when asked about challenges with discipline and fights in schools, referred to East County children as feral, I'm asking for a different attitude.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, really quick before you walk from the microphone, I don't mean to put Kathleen on the spot. Wasn't there a commission that worked on the salary for the?
Yes, they had a report. The state legislature took it up as a bill. Kudos to Lord Charkoudian for pushing it forward. There's an issue with people at the state not wanting the Board of Education to make more money than them. We need to get over it.
Okay.
It's not about egos.
Yes, so the county executive did support the increase. I do want to remind everyone on this issue or on any issue facing the General Assembly, in the middle of November, I think right now they're looking at November 17th as the day. It's moving around, but they have an open mic priorities hearing. All 35 or almost all 35 legislators that represent Montgomery County will be in Rockville in the council hearing room. Anyone can come forward and present on an issue. You've probably done it before in your career, so in your advocacy, and anyone who wants to come in and talk about services, programs, policies, change in laws, you can come do that. But I wanted to make sure everyone knew that that date was coming up for those sorts of things where you have a chance to say in front of everyone, this is important, why I want you to get it done.
Yes, thank you for that. And people should know that when Brenda Wolf decides not to run again, there will be no black people on the Board of Education. That's not okay.
Mr. Madaleno, this was scheduled to go to 8:30. We have about 22 people online. Barnett, is that? Okay, I think they're all left, so do you want to continue?
Yeah, we'll go through that. There are these 4 people with questions.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Yeah, hi, Ferd Hefner, 42-year county resident and member of the Tacoma Park Presbyterian Church. We've been very involved in police reform efforts from a racial justice point of view, and one of our somewhat success stories was convincing our city council to put federal ARPA money into a pilot project to have mental health counselors respond to calls that are coming in for a mental health crisis or homelessness or addiction issues, so that police who aren't necessarily trained for these things aren't responding sometimes poorly, and instead we have professionals who can deal with these situations. And it's a partnership with the County Health and Human Services and is underway. And I raise it here because I think the data and the metrics and the evaluation from this pilot project will help inform the efforts of the mobile crisis teams and other things going on countywide in East County and across the entire county. Our issue is the federal ARPA money runs out next year. So the city put the money in, it's happening. I think there's going to be some really important data coming out of this pilot, but we desperately need the county to take over funding starting in FY27. It's a $300,000 a year item, not a huge budget item, but really important, I think, to help inform county efforts going forward. So just really put in a plug for that.
thank you very much. And of course, the county executive is a Tacoma Park resident, as is the county council, this year, the council president. Dr. Bridgers, of course, our mobile crisis teams operate out of the Department of Health and Human Services. I mentioned that we've been able to grow from 2 to 7 teams. So, and I believe the council is coming up with a hearing soon on mobile crisis teams and a report that was done by the Office of Legislative Oversight that you might want to follow along to make sure you understand what they're recommending as part of that study.
Great, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello again.
Hello, sir. My name is Kina Anyam. I serve as the chair to the African Affairs Advisory Group, and my community
And you
members.
work for the Board of Elections.
I have a few hats.
Yes.
You know, clearly I'm bored. So to that point, I am big on civic engagement and community advocacy. And so tonight, I come as a community member who's spoken with other members of the African diaspora about certain issues. One of which I know you've heard many times over, which is the need for a full-time liaison. I will continue to be a squeaky wheel about this because it makes sure that everyone knows how important this is. There's only 3 diasporas right now that are served with a full-time person. And so, yes, in this season of this country, there's a lot of upheaval that people need a more direct person than you, the county executive, to get their issues solved or at least heard. And without a full-time liaison, and quite frankly, with the half-time liaison that we will hopefully eventually get, they don't have the capacity to take on this work. It's considered to be a 20-hour-a-week position. The calls that they're taking, the texts, the emails, the phone calls to you all, that's not 20 hours. That's many more than that. I say that as someone who's volunteering to serve with one of the diasporas. And so we need to have someone in that position full-time as soon as possible. Also, because they'll be full-time, they can do things like make sure that there are organizations that are a part of the competitiveness for the newcomers grant, which I believe was formerly known as the Lighthouse Initiative. Is that correct?
You reversed it.
Thank
The
you.
newcomer is now Lighthouse.
Thank you, sir. And so to that point, obviously the grant closed on September 10th of this year, but to my knowledge, there's been other attempts before this calendar year of another group to essentially build out those same services that were needed by the grant. Now, to my knowledge, and I've tried to be very informed, I have not heard much of the organization or the consulting group and the results of their work in spring of 2024. So I'm looking to find out where that $3 million supposedly went the first time around at FY24 into 25. So I'd like to know where that money went. The next part about this is also our Muslim community right now is burying people in Frederick versus in Montgomery County, and this might not be something you're aware of, and that is because in Montgomery County, there's not a public plot for them to be able to bury their loved ones in this county. Instead, they're going to Frederick to a privately owned plot or privately owned land with costs of about $3,000 annually. That's a very large amount of money for people who are coming into the States or coming into this country to otherwise support if they want to make sure they can actually go visit their loved ones from time to time. I'd like to know how the county executive or the county council, frankly, is going to leverage the ability to have equity in the space of afterlife support. A lot of families are already just trying to make sure the life above ground is easy enough, but they want to be able to have the same support that any other person living in this county can to bury according to their culture and with the means to do so without it breaking the bank.
Thank you for that. I know with the Lighthouse questions, again, like half of county government, it is within the Department of Health and Human Services, and Dr. Bridgers is still there. I don't know if he can answer your question specifically or point you in the right direction when it comes to the burial issue. Giroux will talk to you. I have nothing informed to respond to you about because that's the first time I've heard that issue. I do want to point out to everybody, I know many of my colleagues in the back of the room who are here to answer questions and services, they're still sitting at their tables, anxious for people to come talk to them. I know you said it runs to 8:30, and I said, sure, we'll stay, but that, of course, that also meant they're all having to stay, so please feel free to go back and talk with them. And I want to make sure we will definitely give Councilmember Mink the opportunity to come up and talk. Don't worry about Councilmember Mink. I just asked that the next two. Wait, I know. As soon as that sentence rolled out of my mouth, I'm like,
yes.
So, but if we can keep the next two questions relatively short to move along. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. to speak tonight in strong support of restoring and increasing funding for PANAFEST, the Pan-African Festival USA, in 2026 fiscal year and beyond. I am Dr. Sinjui, Chairman of the All Cameroonian Cultural and Development Foundation and also Chairman of the PANAFEST organization. I am here as a resident to emphasize why PANAFEST deserves your investment and why Montgomery County must not let this vital cultural institution falter for lack of consistent support. PANAFEST is an annual festival held in Silver Spring, Maryland, celebrating African heritage, culture, and unity. Under the broader ethos, it mirrors the Pan-African Historical Theater project in Ghana, which fosters cultural recognition, remembrance, and creative exchange among Africans and the African diaspora. Locally in Montgomery County, PANAFEST plays a key role. It showcases the talent of dozens of local and diaspora artists, musicians, dancers, craft people, and vendors from throughout the country. It draws thousands of attendees, county residents and visitors alike, boosting foot traffic to our Silver Spring commercial district restaurants and small businesses. It helps bridge cultural divides, enabling people who may not have had exposure to African heritage to learn, to dance, to engage, and to build relationships across communities. It affirms the identity, pride, and belonging of African diaspora community in our county, many of whom contribute powerfully to our civic, economic, and cultural lives. It aligns with the county-owned designation of September as African Heritage Month, giving a commemorating anchor to the observance. In short, PANAFEST is merely entertainment. It is public diplomacy, cultural education, economic stimulus, and social cohesion, all rolled into one.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to say this. I urge the county to consider funding PANAFEST for fiscal year 2026 and beyond. Thank you.
Okay. You got Fatmata excited.
Good evening. My name is Coach Fofo.
Coach Fofo.
Yes, I'm here to advocate for the youth of East County. I've been living this county for 25 years, and I deal with a ton of youth, and then we need a funding for more program. I said last week to you, when our kids in the school, they are more safe once they get out and the trouble started. And also, we have a pathway as a Bethesda, Potomac have it, to make sure we're training our kids to go to four-year college and play any sport and have a scholarship. We need space in here in the East County. We have so many turf field or a good field, but our kids cannot play on those fields, but they leave this community. So it's a coming time to change the procedure or the protocol who not allow kids who live in this community to use those turf field, or maybe advocate for MCPS or the school turf field we have on different high school, so it can be used to our kids to play against a team from Philadelphia or some other city come here to play, because through those pathway, those college coaches can see our kids and recruit them to play for the college. So we need more money for the youth in this community, and they also change the rule the way we can use those turf field in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. You did speak about that at the last forum. I've already started asking questions. I don't think I had a chance to talk to Adrian about it specifically, but I did talk to the county executive about it, and we are trying to work through ideas for what we can do. So thank you for bringing that up. Our last question. This is our last question.
We promise. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sophie Cisse, and I am a over 40-year county resident. My kids went to school here. I volunteer with the NAACP Parents Council. I am an ESOL teacher. I volunteer to do that. I am a mediator with the Conflict Resolution Center of Montgomery County as a volunteer. I am also part of the committee that serves foreign trained health professionals with the Welcome Back Center of Montgomery County, also as a volunteer. But I also work full-time. Many of the things that were raised today are dear, close to my heart. You mentioned revenue shortfalls. And I want to ask.
I don't think I did.
Well, the presentation says something about, let's say, projected slower revenue growth.
Slowing, yes.
Right. So how will the county address this projected slower revenue growth given the needs that are present? Housing, education, access to health. What is the county's plan to address this issue going forward?
So we are a few weeks away from our major revenue estimates to give us a sense of where we are. The council will have a public hearing and update from us in the middle of December. The state just updated some of their numbers, and things were surprisingly better than we had anticipated. So, you know, you have your choice when they're slowing revenues. You slow the rate of growth in spending. There are a variety of ways you can do that. You can raise revenues, or you can cut some things out of the budget. You know, this is where we are having these conversations, is to hear from people. What is your priority? Is it to keep up the level of services and find the will and way to do that? Is it to stay within our same revenue structure and make changes as a result of however much money we have coming in, or some combination? And so that's why we have these things. You know, the county executive has been a risk taker at going out and trying to find ways to figure out how to fully fund our obligations to our school system. He sees that as a moral imperative. Or how to fund our transportation network in order to continue to have growth in the community. And what's the fairest way to go about doing that in a way like on transportation in Virginia, where it's the development community that pays for it as opposed to the general population. So we will, please stay engaged. There'll be lots of information coming out about our revenue estimates and where we are in building our budget. So with that, I know I'm done talking, but I wanted to make sure Councilmember Mink had a chance to say at least hello and a few words.
Thanks, Rich.
Yep.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight to have your voices heard in this forum. I know that Mark's staff is obviously here taking notes, but so am I, and so is my team. Thank you, Kelly Dominique. And we will also be making sure that we have these conversations both within the council building with my council colleagues, as well as with the county executive, as well as with the Board of Education and MCPS. So these conversations will be moving in multiple directions, and I want to make sure that you know that they're certainly not staying right here, that there are a number of people who are going to be moving them. I'm not going to be able to obviously to speak to everybody's questions and comments, so I'll mention a couple of them. On the housing justice side, the need for deeply affordable housing, incredibly important. Thank you for raising that. I will note that that I have a bill that I would love your help in getting passed. We need 6 votes on the council president and the council vice president, Kate Stewart and Will Jawando, have both signed on. This is Bill 525, a demolition tax for funding the construction of affordable housing. So this uses a mechanism that we already have that is already proven at the county level. It will charge a small demolition tax to the folks who are coming in and flipping single-family homes. So when they do a tear down and then when they replace it with a home for sale that is double, triple, quadruple the value that they bought it for, then it is fair, as they make our county more expensive, that they also chip in to help make our county more affordable. So those funds go into a proven mechanism that we have here called the Housing Production Fund, where we're able to use the county's bonding authority. We're currently able to capitalize about $100 million at a cost of only about $2 million per year to the county that goes towards the construction of really, really nice quality affordable housing. We have some of that coming online within our district, District 5, the Hillendale Gateway project, but we have other projects elsewhere that are really beautiful. And so by putting more funding into that, that is by far our most efficient, our fastest proven mechanism for creating affordable housing. And the more money we can put into that, the more affordable housing we can require as part of those projects, and the more deeply affordable housing. So please do reach out to all of your at-large members, or if you have friends who are in other districts, and ask for those council members to show their support also for Bill 525. On the housing conditions, absolutely we always need to do what we can to increase staffing in DHCA to address those needs. We also have just recently passed a bill, and thank you to the county executive for making sure that we had funding for staffing for those positions that are going to allow the county, the Office of Consumer Protection, to sue our bad actor landlords so that they can have a lot more at stake than just a citation here and there. Let's put a lot more money there. In regards to the full-time positions that are needed for the Board of Education, this is so important. This is so important. There's a lot that we require of our school system, and there are a lot of ways that we need it to be better. And it is very fair and necessary that we have people who actually are able to be working a full-time job to cover a school system of this size. And I would love to fund that. It would be an excellent investment. It would also open up those positions on the Board of Ed to be able to be held by people who have the capacity to take on that kind of workload without being able to have other multiple jobs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We need them to be able to be focused, but we have to get the state bill passed. And it would be really, really helpful if we could say that the county council unanimously supports and calls upon the Montgomery County State delegation and the state legislature to give us the ability to do that. We did not have unanimous support. Obviously, I support it. The majority of the council support it, but we did not have unanimous support from the council to express to the state legislature that we wanted that bill, and it is critical. So it would be great also to have your support in getting that done. I know that it is very late, and I want to respect our wonderful rec department staff, and thank you to all of them for having us here. Lots more conversations to be had. I'll stick around for a little bit as we make our way out to have more of those conversations. Thank you for raising all the critical issues that you did here tonight, and look forward to talking more with each of you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to...
Sorry. Actually, I will mention one more thing. The full-time liaisons. I actually just sent a letter over to it might be in your inbox, to the executive branch today. Completely agree that all of those community liaison positions need to be full-time, and so we have formalized that request now with a letter. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And I know you guys want to do that too.
Please, let's give a loud thank you to our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Medellano. Thank you 2 times in a row coming to East County. We appreciate you, and we appreciate our residents and everyone here, our departments that participated in this event. We thank you very, very much for your input and for your participation. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.